Hello and welcome to Jurassic Park 3 Minutes, where we'll be discussing the second Jurassic Park sequel 1 minute at a time. I'm Brad.
And Dave.
And back after a extended hiatus, we have Mr. J Jurassic back. Hello, sir.
What's up, guys? Glad to be back.
It's been a little while.
It has, yes.
But I suppose in that time there's been a lot of 25th anniversary Jurassic Park stuff come out. There's been a lot of Mattel stuff come out.
Mm-hmm.
What have you been buying? What have you been picking up or liking seeing?
Here and there, I've had a few items. For Christmas, I got a good amount of like vintage Jurassic Park stuff, which was great. I had no idea Lost World top cards existed until like last year.
Yep.
And I got those.
They're so hard to find a complete set of. It's amazing how you can find multiple lots on eBay for the Jurassic Park set, but the Lost World set, they're very hard to find.
I haven't gone through the whole set. It's in one of those like plastic card holders, you know.
Yep.
But I've looked through it like briefly, and they're beautiful cards. And I don't know if it's the whole set, but it looks like it might be the whole set because it's a big stack of cards. Another thing that really was great that I got for Christmas as well was this Lost World promo book from, I think it's Japanese. I'm pretty sure, I'm not sure. It's like Japanese or Chinese characters. I apologize if I don't, I just don't know the difference. It's really bad. But it's like that shirt that you guys probably have seen of Lost World, and it's in like Japanese or Chinese characters. I don't know if you've seen that before. That's what the book has as the cover. It's the Lost World logo, but it's Lost World in different language. And it has astonishing, beautiful pictures I've never seen before. And wow. I think David might have seen one, right? The raptor that I posted.
Yeah, I've seen a couple of them, and I'm like, I didn't realize it was. I mean, I saw it was in Japanese, but I thought you might have known the name of it. I kept trying to hound you for the name of it, and then all of a sudden it just occurred to me, wait, if the inside's in Japanese, I'm assuming the outside's probably going to be in Japanese.
It's basically all Japanese. What I think it must have been a promo for back in 1997 that they sent to overseas to promote the film, and I'm basically the person that opened that bag. That bag had never been opened before.
Wow.
So yeah, I opened it. It's brand new, crisp letters all the way from 1997. And
I gotta find that thing.
I've never seen it before. It was just something that my friends found because they find the most like craziest Jurassic Park gifts, and they made this box that was called because I'm J Jurassic to the community, but my first name is George, so they called it the George box, and it was all this Jurassic Park stuff, pins, this, and what came with that was the souvenir magazine, and I was like, what is this? And then I didn't open it that day, but I opened it like weeks after, and I was just blown away by half the photos in there I've never seen before. It has like behind the scenes of Roland like getting ready to film, the actor Pete Postlethwaite. Has these scenes like that one picture I posted of the raptor I had never seen before of the animatronic facing Malcolm. We seen it like breaking through the window, but not the way it was angled, the photo. There's other stuff in there, a lot of behind the scenes stuff, and I will be making a video like showing it for everybody to see,
Nice.
Yeah, and then I got some really awesome gifts from my girlfriend, a shirt from Jurassic Park. She got me this like amber bracelet that has a mosquito on the amber.
Cool.
Yeah, it's all this really cool stuff Jurassic Park wise. And as far as what Mattel's doing right now, I really like the new Dino Rivals line. I have a few of the figures like the Concavinator, the Bite and Fight T-Rex. I really love the coloring. I really like what they're doing. And that Legacy Rex, really love that too, that they brought in the Bull T-Rex. I have a few little gripes with it because I wish it would have been a bigger T-Rex and maybe like more. I saw that David ended up repainting some of the stripes on there, you know, stuff like that. But other than that, I didn't have too much complaints as I've seen in other places. I really like what they're doing and how they're keeping the line going.
Yeah, I think we discussed last week the just how you could easily do a repaint and add a little bit of extra paint to that figure just to make it stand out a little bit more.
And I get it, costs are crazy now with toys, you know, and toys right now, it's a bit different than the market was back in 1993, you know. Game consoles and gaming systems and whatnot are taking the imaginations of the children today. So toys you can't put so much into toys with raising cost prices and whatnot when it's a gamble in a way to put these toys out there. And these are leagues better than the Hasbro toys. You know?
So much better than those.
Yeah. They're actually paying attention to the sculpts and whatnot. There are some wonky figures, yes. There's always one or two, but as for like the main star, the T-Rex, it's a beautiful sculpt. You know what I mean? You seen the repaints that Ted Brothers does, and you know, it brings out when you paint them more to what they look like in the movie, and you see how great the sculpts are. I was talking recently to one of my friends about the sculpt on the Metrocanthosaurus. And even though with the Metrocanthosaurus they went more with an old stylistic classic looking dinosaur because it's kind of slumped over, it's kind of ghoulish looking, you know. I like it. You know what I mean? It may not be like the fast running looking dinosaurs they draw nowadays and how science has evolved, but it looks really cool. And the texture on its back has like these pebble kind of scales and just the imperfections is very Kenner-esque. Because Kenner, if you look at their old sculpts and whatnot, there's these imperfections in the skins that dinosaurs and animals have and dinosaurs probably had. You know, there's not nature isn't perfect in that sense. You know, we all got like a scratch or a scar or something, and these animals do that too. So when I was looking at this, I'm like, wow, they really went into detail with this. But then there's other figures that, you know, it's just a basic figure, kind of like the Proceratosaurus, I think is. Yeah, like that little one. It's a little goofy looking, you know, but hey, whatever, you know. I can't be in the level of dissatisfaction and full of complaints that I was when Hasbro was releasing the Jurassic World 2015 line, you know.
We are in a better place.
Yes, we are. Can there be improvements? Yes, but is it enough to say that they're not doing what the fans like? I don't think so. I think they're going down a really good line right now. You know?
What I have to say is that I think that it shows that Mattel is really kind of experimenting, trying to figure out what works, what doesn't. Like, for example, I remember a friend of a friend came in. A friend of mine said that he spoke with a rep who said that Mattel really wanted to go through with real feel skin, but they just couldn't make it work ergonomically. They couldn't make it cheap, but also quality. So to make this, if they did it, the toy wouldn't have been too expensive. And they also couldn't just figure out a way to get a good quality mix of latex for the skin. And that was one of the disappointments that Mattel employees expressed with doing something. But then they come out with the Albertosaurus, and that one has like the little squishy guts when you pop open the skin in the rib cage. So you can see they're trying to figure out what they can make work for the fans, and I really do appreciate that.
Yeah, that's what I appreciate too. And it's funny you mentioned the Albertosaurus. I completely forgot. That's one that I ended up getting too. I love that figure. Love having another Tyrannosauride into the collection.
I said the exact same thing. Yeah.
It's so great, and it's like I love the sculpt on it. It's great. Like my only complaint with that, I feel the tail should have been a bit longer, but whatever. It's a minuscule complaint because the figure is fantastic. The dino damage is revolutionary. I think you could switch up the ribs and then show the innards as well. It's not just a red little innard that they have on the other dino damage, which is not a bad thing either, you know.
with the dino damage, I do like that with Kenner, like they did with Kenner, you are able to kind of cover it up a bit with that by switching by flipping the skin back over, and I thought that was a really clever. You don't lose the dino damage pieces, which we all know we've all lost those pieces.
Oh yeah,
one time or another.
That's exactly what I was gonna say. I actually the young T-Rex from Kenner. First day I brought that home, I went outside to play with it in the grass, and I lost that piece. First day. And for years, that young T-Rex didn't have a dino damage. And then at some point when you can buy a lot, like a box lot on eBay, a bunch of random Jurassic Park stuff for like under $30 back, I'm talking about the old days.
Yeah.
There just happened to be a dino damage piece for the young T-Rex in there. And I was like, oh, buddy, after 20 years, here you go. Cover that scar.
Yeah, between that and the Triceratops and the Stegosaurus, the only ones I've got the pieces for still are the ones that I've got mint in box. All the loose ones are missing it.
Oh, yeah, basically, same thing here. The Stegosaur, I don't have the piece for that. The Carnotaurus, the Demon, none of them, I've had good friends like Travis Stevens that does the crafts as well, just like Ted Brothers. Both of them have done their own versions of the dino damage piece. Travis Stevens helped me out with one for the Carnotaur for the TLW line, the Bone Crusher.
Yep.
I think it's Bone Crusher, right? And the Demon, Ted sent me one for the Demon. All I have to do is just paint it. So those guys are helping out the community with that type of stuff. But yeah, that's a clever thing. But I don't know. Do we? Is it right to give Mattel complete credit for that? Because I think Hasbro came up with the hatch, right?
Did they? I remember them having two waves. They had the basic guts and ribs and whatever bones they had in the area showing. And then they had the it was like a patch that you could stick over with that they had with the 2013 line to coincide with the 3D release.
Oh, okay.
No, the when you got the Indominus Rex versus Gyrosphere, he had a hatch, and so does the Mosasaur with the submarine.
Oh man, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
So
if anything.
Better.
If anything, they came up with the idea. Mattel improved on it.
Yeah.
That's the best way to put it. Because that hatch was still pretty wanky whenever you were trying to open it up. It was like on Mattel one's like click 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 click.
Was that the same as the Jurassic Park 3, the small Spinosaur, or was that just the exposed ribcage with the lights behind it or the sounds? I can't remember. It's on the shelf. There was that little Spinosaur that's got, I think it's just got the ribs showing with the blood like the some of the Raptors did. From
the JP3 line had all of them just exposed.
Yeah.
It was the first time you got all these damaged dinosaurs that were just permanently damaged.
Yeah. That was the first one I mentioned.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, redone that. They redone that for Jurassic World then with the Raptors and the Dimorphodon and that as well, or the Dimetrodon.
Yeah, that's what they did. They had those few that came in those packs, versus submarine versus this whatever.
Yeah.
I think it was just the Mosasaur and the Indominus. I think those were the only ones that had the hatch or whatever. The other ones were all permanently with damage scars, which reminded you of JP3, which some of the scopes were great and some were not that great.
Yeah. Playing mildly.
Yeah.
Like the film that we should get to as much on.
Oh yeah, there we go. What a great segue.
Well, not quite.
I'm sorry we had to be so
Who
rough.
hit me?
That would be Cooper.
What are they doing?
They're setting up a perimeter to make the place safe. These guys are good.
Trust me, on this island there is no such thing as safe. We have to get back on that plane. Will you tell your wife to stop making that noise? That is a very, very bad idea.
One more thing we do need to briefly discuss is over the Christmas period we mentioned we're going to go back and revisit the Lost World novel. David, you haven't had a chance to start that journey yet.
Unfortunately not.
I'm about halfway through it, and I just found interesting how a lot of some of the dialogue in there was changed between characters in the actual film when it was used. And one scene in particular being reused in Fallen Kingdom, which is Owen waking up to being licked by the I think it's Sinoceratops in the film, where that's a callback to Sarah Harding arriving on Sauna and having the
I forgot she got licked by the Stegosaurus.
the not immature, the junior Stegosaur. So.
Oh wow, yeah, it's been a long time since I read the novel. That's right. That's when she survives, right, from falling off the boat.
Yeah, fatigue. She swims in through the cave and gets up on the mud in the mangroves and passes out from exhaustion. Wakes up, she thinks it's a horse for a start, then no, the head's too narrow and it's got a beak, and yeah. But that was going to lead into, Jay, how long it's been since you've read the novel?
Oof, it's been a long time. Read it, I have to say, man, wow, okay. All right, this is how long ago. David will know exactly. David, do you remember when they had that contest on JP Legacy to draw pieces of the novel?
Yeah, I remember that.
That's how long ago.
It's kind of a bit of a time, isn't it?
Yeah, it's what is that, like 10 years?
I don't think it has to be, because I remember I joined in 2011, so it couldn't have been that long. Probably at least 7 though.
Yeah, it has to be a while. Yeah, that's when I reread it to draw, and I ended up drawing that one scene. But listening to it on audiobook has to be, I think, like a year ago. I was listening to it on audiobook. I played it while I was working, so I just hear the whole story. But I gotta.
Sure.
Well, you get half the story.
Was it the English version or the normal?
I think it was the normal one, because I think which one's the one on YouTube?
I don't know, but I've only been able to find the abridged version, which is about 3.5 hours.
No, then it's not the abridged version, because this one was super long.
Oh, okay. Because the abridged one cuts out Sarah. Even she just appears on the island having a shower. It doesn't have her story getting there.
No, yeah, it has to be, because the one that I heard was it had to be, because I remember I saw the time, I was like, oh, this is awesome. This will take me throughout the week to listen to, or like whatever, depending on how much work I had. So I think it had to be like a 7 or 9 hour one or whatever.
Well, the Jurassic Park one's 12. I think that's normally around 12 hours is what the books.
Might have been 10.
Yeah.
Might have been 10 then, because I think the Lost World is shorter than Jurassic Park, right? Or longer.
Yeah, I wonder if someone done that privately.
Yeah, it wasn't. Yeah, it wasn't. I don't think it was the real narrator. I think it was somebody else that was reading it. But it was great, because I refreshed my memory on the story, since I had read it so long ago. Yeah. And then I started actually listening to the Jurassic Park one as well.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I've only been reading it because I've only got that shortened version. I know there is a full version one on Audible, but it's in Spanish, I think, or German, which isn't much good to me, but...
Actually...
it is kind of good if you're...
I'm
a minor.
I'll figure it out. I'm not going to, go on my computer and look now. That's all right. I'll text you... I'll put it on Twitter later and be like, this is the one I listened to, so you guys can see it too. Maybe you guys can listen to that one. And I also have it on audio CD.
Oh, okay.
But that one is actually sealed up. I never opened it. I don't want to.
No, because I've always been thinking about, especially with the popularity of Jurassic World and Fallen Kingdom, sort of either doing a GoFundMe or something just to get someone that's got a better voice than me to read it, to get some sort of version of the audio book out there, whether it's Audible or not, or even put a not a survey, a petition together to get them to do it, because since Audible themselves have only done the official Jurassic Park one, but then I don't know what the rights are involved with Crichton's family and all that sort of stuff, so it's probably a big black hole you get into, but
yeah,
that
probably
exists.
A little bit of a mess.
That would be interesting to see.
Actually, I'm looking over at my shelf, and I have the CD audio version and the audio cassette.
Wow.
Yeah. Of Oh, but not the Lost World. Both of them is Jurassic Park.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Nice.
Both gifts from the same friend that got me that souvenir book. My friend DC Villain.
Keep that friend. Keep him.
Oh yeah, he's man. I don't know how he finds this stuff. Him and his girlfriend, they find all this stuff. The souvenir book was actually his girlfriend, a good friend of mine as well.
Wow.
Actually, I think I might have found it on Google or eBay just now. Does it have the basic cover just with the logo, but in Japanese and the woody kind of stony background?
I think so.
I think I might have found it actually for $25.
Oh, dude, get it.
I'll delete this bit from the podcast. Others don't race the bit on it.
Both you guys, go get it right now.
All of a sudden, it turns into a $500 book.
It's probably not much though, right? Is it? It's probably not much though, right? How much do they want for it?
25 plus 11 shipping.
Oh wow,
that's not bad at all.
Yeah. No, it's not.
Well, this won't come out for a couple of weeks, so you'll be right. All right, so yeah, we're I think now at this point we'll probably just push the novel recap back to when we finish Jurassic Park 3, just so we can devote some time to it, because sort of not really sure at the moment how to tackle it, because there's a bit there and a lot to discuss. So we'll work out what we're going to do there and come back to it at a later stage.
Don't get too excited, Billy. Chances are we won't see a thing.
If you're both ready, we'll jump into minute 24.
Yeah, sure. I'm ready.
As we enter minute 23 of Jurassic Park 3, Nash had desperately tried to escape the spinosaur, but it stood on his back, pinning him to the ground, and ate him. As we open on minute 24, the spinosaur looks back up to the people in the plane and roars. Everyone runs to the rear of the plane. At the 10-second mark, as everyone rushes to the rear of the plane, the weight shifts, and it starts to topple backwards out of the tree, and down to the ground below, where it lands with a crunch. At the 15-second mark, it leans over, it topples towards a tree branch, snapping it, and the fuselage falls to the ground with a thud. The spinosaur comes to the fallen fuselage and starts to roll around the ground, tossing and turning everyone inside. At the 38-second mark, the plane rolls up against a tree and stops. Amanda falls back into a seat. And out the window you can see the large spinosaur looking directly at them and roaring. Panicked, she screams and runs from the plane. Grant yells after her, Mrs. Kirby, come back, and follows her out into the jungle. Seconds later, Paul comes out of the plane as well, sees the spinosaur, and then turns around and runs back into the plane. Meanwhile, Grant's grabbed Amanda and is leading her back towards the plane in safety. At the 52-second mark, as they run back into the plane, we get the left foot of the spinosaur crash down into the mud. It puts its big CG hands on the plane and starts to roll it back and forth once again. And as the minute ends, it puts its foot up on the plane and starts to push down, collapsing the fuselage. As we open minute 24, Nash's dino food, we get the animatronic Spinosaur come back up to face the others in the wreckage and gives that deafening roar to the camera. Jay, last week we sort of commented a bit on the animatronic for the Spinosaur. We get a bit more of it here in full action. What do you think of it?
I thought it was an amazing feat, how big the animatronic was, but there are some scenes that I can kind of see that it doesn't move so fluidly like the T-Rex animatronic did.
Last minute we've seen it sort of pull Nash out and just sort of swing him side to side pretty slowly.
You can kind of see that it was kind of a machine, you know. But as far as the look of it and whatnot, I think it looks fantastic. You know, I'm not, and you guys know I'm not the biggest fan of the Spinosaurus, but just the look of it, what they did, how Stan Winston, you know, I mean, I miss Stan Winston Studios. I really do. I constantly see their posts on Stan Winston's school, the Pumpkinhead, the other monsters that they create, and then constantly putting Jurassic Park stuff, and I'm just like, man, I really wish we could have them back for another Jurassic.
It's funny, you mentioned Pumpkinhead for the first time. I don't know why it took me so long. I finally watched Pumpkinhead by Stan Winston, and I loved it.
I told you, it's great. I love that movie. It's one of my favorite like creature feature type of movies. You know, the other ones aren't great. Don't watch those. But the first one is. Oh, the first one's so definitive, and just what he created, and that's a guy in a suit, man. You know, like it's no CGI. There's no CGI in that movie. You know, that's all practical effects, and it's directed by Stan Winston.
Yeah, it was.
So
anyway, I mean, I got friends who I'm friends with Ben Flees on of Father Phantom Studios, and I mean, he actually produces Pumpkinhead Bus, and so I'm like, man, I got friends who love these movies. Why am I not watching them? And so I just finally had to watch them last Halloween.
Oh, it's a great movie. But yeah, you know, when you look at the like the sculpt on this guy and just the work that was put in, it was an amazing dinosaur. I feel that the animatronic works so much better in like later scenes. I don't want to, you know, water scenes. Yeah. I mean, yeah. I was thinking, I'm like, everybody's probably watched this movie. I'm not spoiling it for anybody. Like,
no, we don't have to worry about that.
I was about to like, I can't spoil this one, but yeah, like when it's in the water later in the movie, I think it's such a better executed machine. You know what I mean? Like it works so much better there. I don't know what it was that in this scene, maybe the lighting wasn't helping it, but it just made it look more like an animatronic to me than an actual real dinosaur. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I think unlike the river scene, this is sort of in the daylight, even though it's a little bit darker in the jungle. You're still seeing it.
I think that's what it is. I feel like maybe the lighting, just having the daylight on it, kind of like it's almost like it reveals the monster. You know? It's just.
Well, with Jurassic Park 3, I'd almost say that it's reversed of The Lost World in its lighting because so much of the movie takes place during the daytime and so little during the night. Whereas The Lost World, so much of it took place at night and so little during the day.
Mm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you brought up Stan Winston before. Sort of, there's a bit of criticism going around with Joe Johnston that he didn't know how to use the animatronics and that sort of thing. And Winston was probably on set a lot more, directing some of the animatronics and that. We sort of know from The Lost World that he was there directing that bedroom scene as well of the Tyrannosaur when it busts through the kid's window.
Yeah.
So whether that's a proper criticism, like Joe Johnston done Jumanji, so there was a lot of animatronics in that as well. So I reckon he did know how to use them. Just that might be just another criticism fans are throwing at him because
I would disagree with that criticism, if only because Joe Johnston got his start with Lucasfilm as the effects guy. Yeah. He knows he knows special effects. That's basically his MO. You know?
Yeah.
I would strongly disagree that he had no idea what to do with the effects.
Yeah, and he didn't he also direct The Rocketeer, and that had a bunch of effects in it. Yeah, he did.
Yep.
I mean, not an animatronic, but the guy was flying around and stuff, you know. So, yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's just I don't know what it is, but even you guys seen, and I've talked to other fans as well, and they see the kind of like the robotic movement of the dinosaur in that scene. But it's really just that scene because when you see it later on, it's different.
Yeah. Well, the rest of the group get to see it here as well, and it takes them a moment to run back from the open cockpit or the open front of the plane. And as they do, the fuselage begins to tip backwards as it's sort of balancing there on that branch of a tree it landed in. It's overbalanced and it falls backwards, and you sort of get a shot inside as everyone's screaming as the plane falls away from the camera down to the ground, which it's described, we mentioned in previous minutes, in the novel and script, it's about 30 feet off the ground, but when they're falling here, it looks like it's falling a lot further. Well, the camera's a lot higher.
Well, actually, speaking of that, I'm looking at some of the storyboards here from Ricardo Delgado, who did some of the storyboard and concept art for Jurassic Park 3. He released a bunch of his art that he had for the movie, including this one and Disney's Dinosaur. And the concept art he showed, or at least the sketch he showed here of the Spinosaurus kind of circling the tree that the plane is in, it almost looks like that the plane is at least 50 feet off the ground. And also interesting, I was going to mention earlier that we mentioned Nash gets killed right away. Originally, the way that it looks like it may have been scripted, or at least the way Delgado imagined it, is that he would die by running out of the plane once it was already on the ground, and the Spinosaurus would kind of snatch him up and flip him in his mouth and swallow him.
Okay, well, we do get Amanda and Grant leave the wreckage here in a minute. That they get back inside, so it would have been there he ran out and got eaten.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and there's nothing to say it can't be that high off the ground, except for the fact the Spinosaur sort of takes the front of the plane off, then sticks its head in the front, and it's only described as being 25 feet tall, so if it was any higher than that, then the Spinosaur wouldn't be able to reach it in the tree.
Yeah, that's true.
It's interesting, you look at the behind the scenes with the animatronic, and the animatronic's in the rear, kind of like lifted all the way back as far as it can, so the head can get as far off the ground as possible.
But anyway, the plane crashes tail first into the ground, and you sort of get that effect on the fuselage as it sort of ripples and squashes the tail in, and then it topples over and lands on the ground for thud. And as we sort of mentioned last week, with the crash itself, how the survivors didn't really seem to get any scratches or bruises or anything from the crash itself. Well, now that they've fallen to the ground in the fuselage and it starts rolling around, that's when they start getting I think Amanda gets a scuff on the face and Grant gets a cut on his cheek.